We are on the record for the hearings of the matter listed in the North Dakota Industrial Commission hearing docket for July 27th. I am David Garner, hearing examiner for these hearings. We are at the hearing room for the Department of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas Division, and it is 9 a.m. On the docket, the following matters will be continued or dismissed. Case number 30246 continued to August hearings. Case number 29868 continued to August hearings. Case number 30152 continued to August hearings. Case number 30251 dismissed. Case number 30257 continued to August hearings. Case number 30263 continued to August hearings. Case number 30155 continued to August hearings. The administrative docket starts on page 3 with case number 30251 and goes through case number 30262. These cases will be heard in the next room with Michael Zisch. Audio recordings of the cases on the administrative docket will be placed on the Oil and Gas website by the end of the week. If you wish to appear in one of the matters on the administrative docket, please appear in the next room. If there is opposition to the matter, it will be brought back into this hearing room to be heard, and your statements and evidence will be taken. You will begin with moving to case number 30246, application of Grayson Mill Operating LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Ragged Butte Bakken Pool and the Alexander Bakken Pool, McKenzie County, North Dakota, as follows. 1, authorizing the drilling, completing, and producing of a well with the lateral to be completed approximately 450 feet from the east line of an existing 1280-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 15 and 22, Township 151 North, Range 101 West, and 2, authorizing the drilling, completing, and producing of a well with the lateral to be located approximately 450 feet from the west line of an existing 1280-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 14 and 23, Township 151 North, Range 101 West. This case has been continued to the August hearings, and that concludes our hearing for case number 30246. Case number 30247, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order authorizing the use of an open receptacle to be located in Section 9, Township 146 North, Range 96 West, Rattlesnake Point Field, Dunn County, North Dakota, for storage of produced water to allow fracture stimulation of the Vigal 2-9 HSL1 well, Vigal 3-9H well, Vigal 4-9H1 well, Vigal 5-9H1 well, Vigal 6-9H well, Vigal 7-9H1 well, Vigal 8-9H well, Vigal 9-9H1 well, Vigal 10-9H well, Vigal 11-9H1 well, Vigal 12-9H well, and Vigal 13-9H1 well, as an exception to the provisions of Section 43020319.3. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, hearing this matter, case 30247, on behalf of Continental Resources, Inc. At this time, we respectfully request that this case 30247 be combined and consolidated for purposes of hearing with case 30248. We have one packet of exhibits. They're repetitious in nature, and we can expedite the hearing process if the matters are consolidated.
The request is granted. I'll just announce case 30248 as well. It's an application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order authorizing the use of an open receptacle to be located in northwest-northeast quarter of Section 8, Township 146 North, Range 96 West, Rattlesnake Point Field, Dunn County, North Dakota, for storage of produced water to allow fracture stimulation of the Lundberg Federal 10-8H well, Lundberg Federal 11-8H1 well, and Lundberg Federal 12-8HSL well, as an exception to the provisions of Section 43020319-3 of the North Dakota Administrative Code. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. We intend to call one witness in these consolidated matters, Mr. Todd Benard, B-E-N-A-R-D, and Todd will be appearing by telephone. He should be on the phone now.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Todd, state your full name for the record, please.
It's Gregory Todd Bernard,
And Todd, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources.
In what capacity?
I'm the Completions Resource Coordinator.
And in that capacity, you've testified before the commission previously, have you not?
I have.
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert in these types of cases, is that correct?
That is correct.
We'd offer the further testimony this witness is that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay. Now, Todd, packet of exhibits that we have before the commission here today are somewhat similar to what we've presented before, so I'm going to have you move through the exhibits somewhat quickly and then just leave more time for the commission to answer questions. Is that fine with you?
Excellent.
Okay.
That works.
And then one more thing, just a housekeeping matter. We'd like this packet of exhibits to be marked as Exhibit 1, and then we'll just go through it page by page. Is that all right, Ms. Cattermas? Okay, thank you. All right, Todd, let's skip page 1 of Exhibit 1, and let's skip page 2 of Exhibit 1, and let's go to page 3. Tell us what page 3 is.
Okay, page 3 is the sundry checklist that we are currently using. We developed this based on the requirements so far that were placed on prior approvals. So we've made a checklist to follow so that we hit each of the requirements that were initially put out. We can add to this if any additional come up. This one that shows the BIGL 2 through 9 sundry checklist. Highlighted on this is the duration and plan for the setup and tear down of the tank. Should only be there 32 days or less. And that's what this shows.
And this particular checklist, as you've referred to it, it appeared basically in the first order that was issued by the commission. So it is in essence a commission checklist. Is that correct?
That is correct. From the previous approval with the conditions, we placed those conditions on here so that we address those when we file our sundry.
Okay, let's go to page 4 of Exhibit 1.
Okay. Page 4 is a large topographical overview of where the BIGL 2 through 9 pad is going to be located. Page 5 is just a closer representation of that. The next 4, page 6 is an aerial picture of where the pad will be placed for this. And then 7, 8, 9, and 10 are the cardinal directions pictures from where the pad will be located.
Okay.
And that's, go ahead.
No, you continue. I apologize.
Okay, so I provide the aerial and then each of the directions to show what the topography is, to show what the surrounding area looks like, so that the commission can get an idea of where we're placing this and what is involved in the area. So moving on.
Just a moment. I was just going to suggest that when we go to the next exhibits, if you have 3, 4 exhibits and they show the same thing like here, only from different directions, I think it still might be helpful if you could go through it page by page to give the commission a little bit of time to review it. So let's go now to, I think you were on page 11, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, let's start with that one now.
Okay, so page 11 is the layout plan for the well pad, showing the topography, the elevations, and then the page 12, and these are the ones that have been approved for the build. Page 12 is the the onlay onto that side of what the pad layout will be, showing our berm height, width, where we're putting the fill, because previous requirements was that we don't place a tank over where the fill is. We're trying to get out a little bit ahead on these, so the pad's not actually built yet. So it's, I would like to have had it built, but because of the time frame that we've been running into getting the approvals, we're trying to get further out in front of it so that we can get everything built and meet all the requirements so that we're able to use the open top ASDs. So as the commission's indulgences are allowing me to put these out before we actually get them built. When we submit our sundries, we will have the as-built put on there, and it will be submitted with the actual drawings and the layout of the pad, how we intend to set the tanks, where the riser is, where the line will be ran.
And I know that the first few applications that Continental filed, they were very close to the time frame in which you wanted to build the facilities. You're trying to get out a little further with those applications to avoid having to rush the commission as well. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. Let's go to page 13. I know there's not much on that, but if you could cover that as well, please.
Okay, so previously on the hearings, they had asked to show a location on a map reflecting where the aquifers are in the area and where the closest aquifers are. So this is the pinpoint location of where the Vical 239 pad will be located and the closest aquifers.
Okay, that kind of ends the discussion of the Weigel wells. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, let's now move to the Lundberg wells, starting with the next page. Let me see, that would be page 14. I think we could skip page 14 and go right to page 15. Tell me what page 15 is.
Again, the page 15 is our sundry checklist, showing the items previously placed on us to contingent upon meeting these requirements and approval with our sundry filings. Highlighted down there is our planned layout for the tank set and tear down. This tank is planned to only be there 38 days or less.
Okay, page 16.
Okay. This is an aerial view of where the pads will be placed.
Okay, 17.
17 is a topographical, higher perspective of elevations, roads, and access points going to the pad. 18 is just a closer view of that same topography, showing elevations and roads and surrounding areas. Moving on to 19 is the north-facing cardinal direction from where the pad will be placed.
This photo was just taken a couple of weeks ago, right?
If only, right? It seems like it.
Yeah, right.
So that's the north-facing direction. Slide 20 is the east-facing direction. 21 is the southern direction. 22 is the west-facing direction.
Thank you for moving through slowly on that. So, all right, let's go to 23.
Okay, 23 was what we filed for the pad site location. This is how we intend to build the pad out with the berms elevations. And 24 is how we will place the, is a aerial view of how it will be placed on once we build the site, showing berm locations, capacities, and elevations, and where we'll place our topsoil when we prep the pad and our fill.
Okay, 25.
25 is again the aquifer locations and the pin location for where this pad will be located.
Okay, now you've spent a little time talking about each of the wells or the well sites for the two requests you're making. Now you're going to talk a little bit about how the setup will be on both sites. Is that a fair statement?
That is fair.
Okay, let's go to starting with 26. Tell us what that is.
Okay, 26 is just a graphic or a picture of a couple of above-ground storage tanks that are set up just to provide the commission a picture of what these tanks actually look like. Page 27 is how we're prepping our sites. Now we've gone through this process. We've done a dry run on a previously approved pad on the Edwards. So we, placed it out. We identified it, leveled it. We placed our sand down prior to, installed the sidewalls, put down the Geotex liners with leak detection in between them. The process went very smooth. Leak detectors worked fine. We didn't have any indication of any leaks. We didn't have any leaks. So we have actually tested this process without using produced water. So it did work. The candy canes going over the top instead of having a bottom suction was to just reduce penetrations into the tank. We used that for this set of wells, and it worked great. Didn't have any complications. So it was a successful test, and valuable lessons learned there. We did have the NDIC inspectors out. We contacted them on the setup, and then post-job, we had them come out again. The inspection went really well. They asked some good questions. The local representatives didn't seem to have any additional requests placed on us, but we haven't seen any yet, and if they do have them, of course, we'll accommodate. Storage leak detection, we did real-time monitoring. The system works well. Like I said, we didn't have any leaks, but the detectors were set up, tested, and operated as advertised. Page 29 is our spill response and recovery. Should, in the event that we have a leak or a rupture in the tank, this is how we are going to proceed with notifying proper authorities, isolating and securing the affected area. We'll have pump trucks available during the entire duration that we have produced water out there until the tanks are taken down. We have dams, dikes, any means of containment necessary to contain the full content of that tank. We have the ability to pump it down the hole rapidly after we secure the inlet, and we also have the ability to reverse it back into the system if necessary, should the wellheads not be available to displace the water. Any questions on the spill response recovery?
You can just continue. They'll ask questions at the end of your presentation.
Okay.
Let's go to page
Okay,
30.
gotcha.
Yep.
Page 30, I was asked to provide the average breakdown of what our water looks like. So this shows the TDS, chlorine, calcium, hypochloritates, just a chemical analysis of our average produced water over the last 6 months in the Dunn County gathering system. Page 31, I was asked to provide the engineering compliance and certifications for the tanks that we're using. So that's what this certification is, and these are the tanks that we're using, which are the well water solution tanks. Page 32 is the candy cane that we're using, just showing how we set it down so that we don't have any concern about damaging the liners and able to get suction out away from the walls and discharge. 33 is additional certification by a different engineering company for the same type tanks. And this continuation on 34 and 35. The 35, which is the last slide, is the chemical resistance charts provided for the liner types that we're using, showing that they're able to, handle the produced water within the tank. And that completes it.
And I noticed that it doesn't seem like we have page numbers on 33.
30.
We have 33, but we don't have 34 and 35. Perhaps Bethany can just write those page numbers on there. Mr. Examiner, I believe that concludes our presentation in this matter. I know we went through it quickly, but we did that intentionally because the commission has heard the presentation before, and it will give now the staff an opportunity to ask specific questions that they may be interested in.
Would you like
And
to-
we would offer the exhibit 1.
The exhibit will be received. Any questions from the staff?
Todd, this is David Tabor. Are you looking at the possibility of using multiple vendors for these tanks as you submitted in your certifications here?
We have, but at this time, we're only using well water solution tanks.
That's the one on page 33, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then what would be page 34, that is actually certification for the liner, is that correct?
That is correct. That's the chemical resistance chart provided for the liner.
Okay. And do you have an idea of what size tanks will be placed on these yet?
It will most likely be a 20K on each of these, but I won't know until the pad's completely built out, because we're not going to place the tank over fill, so that limits our placement and size of the tank. So once the pad's built, then we'll determine, and we will file that with the Sudbury.
Okay, and that was my next question on using page 15. They're basically the same for both sets of exhibits. I don't see where it states the size of the tank to be used, but you would not have any issue with providing that in that Sunder?
Absolutely not. We provide the tank that we set up, and again, we have the inspector come out. They've requested, they actually want to be there for the next tank setup, just so they can watch it. You know, that's something they haven't seen, and that's Mr. Dolanuk, Doug Dolanuk, and Nicole Iwaniuk. They both requested that they could watch us do it the next time, and of course we'll accommodate that and have them out there and show them how we do it. And so,
Okay.
and any additional inputs they come from that, or any things they would like to see additional, we'll add to it.
And then on each one of these locations proposed, they are all piped to that candy cane. Nothing's trucked onto like another storage tank and pumped into this tank or anything like that, correct?
Absolutely. That we have a produced water gathering system that will have a riser on location that will be piped to the tank.
Is there anything different in the certifications from the vendor providers of the tank from your previous cases that you had? As far as capabilities and certification differences?
No. The only difference from the very first one we applied, I put multiple tank providers, but the detail on the engineering side for the drop water tanks, the commission asked that they have the same as what the well water tanks were, and I'm still awaiting that. So until that vendor can provide that, we're not going to use their tank.
And is the liner that is being proposed in this case the same liners that were used in the first case that was approved?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Todd, on page 33 and 31, the engineering certifications, those are from 2015, which is fine, but I'd like you to investigate whether they have been updated or not.
Okay, I can do that.
Mark, are you looking for, and then an additional exhibit that shows it's been updated with
Not necessarily, but if, I think would be prudent for them to see if there's been changes or anything to. And then on page 23, looks like the only, well, I shouldn't say it. The access road is coming in your cut section, obviously, so that's gonna limit where you can put your tank.
That is correct. We will not place a tank overcut,
Overfill, you mean?
or overfill, I'm sorry, correct.
And on page 11, it looks like you're fairly limited in that location also.
That is correct.
On exhibit, or page 11, is there a dike and ditch between the CTB pad and the well pad?
The pad, it's not built yet,
Okay,
but if you look on 12, there on the bottom left corner, it'll show what the intent was for the ditch and drain for the low sections are. That'll be bermed also.
It appears like they're two separate constructions, but I guess that's not relevant at this point.
Correct. And I will provide the updated as-built once we have completed the site. And that'll be filed with the Sundry for approval before we put the tank.
And I don't recall the number. I asked you this question in the last hearing, but was it 50,000 barrel pad capacity you thought should be just a rule of thumb minimum?
Well, what we were doing was 2 times the capacity, or 2.5 times the capacity of our storage tank
And
as a minimum.
and it appears these pads will meet that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, nothing further. That concludes our hearing for a case.
One moment, could we leave the record open in the event that there has been a change?
Oh,
So,
sure.
Todd, how much time do you think you need to get the information that Mark was requesting on whether there's been an update on that certification?
I can make the inquiry today, and either they're going to have it or they're not. But my guess is they're not going to have it. But I will definitely ask the question because I asked when we started this process for them to provide me, their most current engineering certifications of the tank, and that is what I was provided. And they haven't changed their design, so I'm not sure. I would not have expected them to spend, additional funds for certifications once they have it, unless they do a change and they haven't that I'm aware of.
Mr. Examiner, we'd request that the record remain open until 5 p.m. tomorrow, and we'll get you the information. Either it's been updated and we'll provide that, or it's not been updated, or request additional time.
Your request is granted.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, that concludes our hearings for case numbers 30247 and 30248. Case number 30249, application of Morgan E&P LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Glade Bakken Pool and/or Saddle Butte Bakken Pool, Billings County, North Dakota, to create and establish a 1280-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 21 and 28, Township 142 North, Range 98 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 horizontal wells on said proposed 1280-acre spacing unit. All interested parties, please come forward.
Hello, Greg?
Yes.
Okay, just a moment.
All right.
Mr. Examiner, Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in case 30249 on behalf of Morgan E&P LLC. We intend to call 2 witnesses. One witness will be called by telephone. Mr. Greg Sherman, I think I've handed out the exhibits. Are they making their way around? Okay. As I indicated, Mr. Sherman will be called by telephone. He'll be offering some land testimony. And then here with us in the hearing room is Mr. Clark Morgan, and he'll be offering the remaining testimony in this case. Both witnesses are ready to be sworn when you are, Mr. Examiner.
Mr. Sherman,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Greg, state your full name for the record and spell your last name, please.
Sure. It's Greg Sherman. Last name is spelled Scherman.
And by whom are you employed?
In this case, I'm employed by Morgan E&P
In what capacity?
as the land manager.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have not.
Well, I'd like you to briefly highlight for us your educational background and work experience.
Sure. I got a degree at the University of California, San Diego. I've been in the business for about 40 years. I started working for a company called Brewmark Corporation in their land department. I was trained under 2 attorneys, and I did that for about 12 years, worked in about 7 different states, and then elected to
go out on my own. I started my own company called the Sherman Energy Group, became a certified professional landman, held various positions over the years with other companies, but have essentially acted as a land and regulatory consultant over the years.
And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant land matters concerning Morgan's request in this case?
Yes, I have.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Examiner, we'd offer the further testimony of this witness, that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Greg, let's turn to the packet of exhibits. I've distributed a copy to the commission staff, and I'd like you to turn to what's been previously marked as Exhibit 1. What I'd like you to do is first identify Exhibit 1 and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Exhibit 1, general locator map. That basically shows a field within the area where our 1,280 acre unit is going to be. Our unit straddles the Saddle Butte and Glade fields, and you can see there it's section 21 and 28 of 142 North, 98 West.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit 2. As you did with the previous exhibit, identify it and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Yes, Exhibit 2 is a land plat, and this specifically shows our 1,280 acre unit covering sections 21 and 28 of 142 North, 98 West, and then also shows the working interest that we have within the unit, and we have 78%, and then others have 22%.
No further questions for the land witness.
Any questions from the staff?
Greg, I don't know if you're the appropriate witness, but currently sections 16 and 21 are a stand-up 1,280 acre space unit, and sections 28 and 29 are a lay-down 1,280 acre spacing unit. And to the south, 33 and 4 are stand-up 1,280. And if this application is granted, what's going to happen to section 16?
Probably not the expert on that, but I have heard discussion of potentially 16 and 17 being a laydown 1280, and then section. Go ahead.
No, you finish. I apologize.
Okay, and then section 33 and 4, that is currently a stand-up 1280. So we're basically just forming the unit to the north of that.
And Mark, the next witness can probably address those questions more completely.
Okay.
Mr. Morgan, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Clark, state your full name for the record, please.
Clark Morgan,
And Clark, by whom are you employed?
Morgan EMP,
In what capacity?
as the Chief of Balkan Development.
Okay, and have you testified before the commission?
Yes,
And have your qualifications been accepted as that of an expert?
yes.
Why don't you refresh our recollection as to, with respect to your educational background and work experience? I think it's been a bit since you've testified, so.
Right. Petroleum engineer, graduated from Tulsa. Worked at Continental Resources in a lot of different roles, engineering, operations, and have transitioned to putting this deal together.
Okay. And what you plan on doing here today is you're going to be offering some expert opinions with respect to engineering matters, but just some factual information with respect to geologic matters. Is that correct?
Correct.
Offer the further testimony of this witness, that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Clark, perhaps before we get into your exhibits, do you recall the question that Mr. Bohr asked Greg?
I do.
Okay, can you respond to that first?
Yes. So we have plans to develop 33 and 4 and 21 and 28. You'll see a couple slides on that, how we have the layout planned out. So with that, your question on how to develop the whole, I call it township or area, we would plan to take 16 and 17 like Greg had mentioned and do that as a laydown, section 20 and 29 as a stand-up, and then 19 and 18 as a 2-mile stand-up, and then 6 and 7 to fully round out the township. And I know I went through that fast, but the idea is to leave nothing, no section behind.
Okay,
Sorry.
now let's go to Exhibit 3 in the packet, and once again, it's a geologic exhibit, so if you could provide us, first identify it, and then just provide some factual information as you know it on this particular exhibit.
It's an Upper Bakken shale structure map, and it's basically just showing the contoured intervals of the Upper Bakken shale. And we have a type log in the exhibits following are in section 33. The triangle calls that out. And that's the Upper Gaywood 33-21.
Okay, and let's go to those exhibits, Exhibit 4 and Exhibit 4.1.
Exhibit 4 is a type log of the resistivity. That's from the Upper Gaywood well, 0.2 to 2,000 ohm meters. You can see the formations called out from the lodgepole all the way down to the bird bear. And specifically of our interest in this case is the Bakken and the Three Forks.
Okay, and let's go to Exhibit 5. As you've done previously, identify this exhibit first, and then discuss what's contained upon it.
So Exhibit 5 is the proposed directional well plot. Like I had mentioned, we plan to develop this with spacing unit going north and south, both on 1280s. Section 33 and 4 is already spaced, and here we are with the application for 21 and 28. The idea would be to drill north and south to prevent having a bunch of surface locations and try to get as many wells on a pad across the unit. So generally speaking, we'd like to stick with a 4-well pad development plan, and that's how we'd base our plans to date.
Okay, then let's go to Exhibit 6.
Exhibit 6, that is a typical wellbore schematic for what we're proposing. As you can see, we have conductor as our first casing string, followed by a surface string that's set at 2,400 feet. We'll run intermediate, and that's 7-inch casing down through the curve, followed by a liner in the lateral. We'll cement the liner utilizing a wet shoe, and plan to do a modern completion on it with 60-plus stages and 10 million pounds of sand.
All right, and Exhibit 7.
Exhibit 7, this is basically showing our reservoir parameters and our reserve basis and economics for what we're trying to accomplish here. So the reservoir parameters of Bakken Pool is a dolomitic siltstone / shale. Thickness we have at roughly 110 feet, porosity 8%, and then you can kind of move down through there. You see that permeability is 0.01 millidarcy, water saturation 75%, bottom hole temperature 258 degrees. In our evaluation, we've used a 1.3 B sub O, or formation volume factor. Gas properties 1,400 BTU, and then in our estimations we have 1,280 acres So that gives us a total of 16.8 million barrels of oil in place. And then with our current type curves, we estimate that we're going to get a 7.1% recovery factor, and that's based on 1.2 million total barrels on a 4-well per spacing unit well count. And then on the right side, this is our economics and reserve basis. You can see that we IP the wells at 16,000 barrels of oil per month with a 76% decline, 1.1 B factor. Final rates 10 barrels of oil a month, which is well beyond economic limit. GOR is right over 1,000, 1,041, and then it gives us 300,000 barrels of well with the 1.2 BCF. So with a $70 oil price, a $2.50 gas price, an $8.2 million well cost, and then the operating cost below, and interest assumptions, you get 2.48 million in PV10, a 21% rate of return, and a 4.69 years to pay out.
And Exhibit 8, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
Yes.
Mr. Examiner, or excuse me, I was going to say I didn't have any more questions, but I do. Clark, in your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits.
The exhibits will be received. Any questions from the staff?
Clark, looking at Exhibit 5, I'm assuming your casing point and bottom hole location markers are flip-flopped. Those should be opposite, with your casing points in green marked all the way down towards the end.
You're right. That's correct.
Okay. And what's your time frame to drill these wells?
We are in process to try to get wells drilled fairly immediately. So we've been in contact with drilling rig contractors, frac crews, because those are the big long lead time items. And we're prepared to try to get first production by October 31st.
Okay, given your economics on Exhibit 7, if oil drops below $70, will you still move forward with the project since the payout's 4.69 years?
Yes.
Okay. Will you create a CTB for all 8 wells in one location, or will you have production equipment on both pads?
We'll have the production equipment on one pad is the plan, but we'll individually meter both wells,
Okay.
or any well, I should say.
And do you plan to truck all the oil out? Or?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and One Oak is, they're on basically the county road. They have a line going right by, on the county line is between section 33 and 28. So it's a quick or a short tie-in.
Okay.
And we've been in contact with them, obviously.
Good. Thanks.
Clark, looking at Exhibit 5, just confirming your intent is to target Middle Bakken with all of the proposed wells?
Middle Bakken, the whole Bakken pool. I don't think we're, I don't think it's necessarily has to be. If you look at the shale, the lower shale, it's not near as thick down here, so I think we would say that the upper Three Forks is also a potential target.
Okay. So you might actually target place your lateral within the upper Three Forks as well?
Yeah, and I think you could potentially bounce in between, to have a big target window per se.
Okay. The thickness you have on your Exhibit 7, your 110-foot thickness, I'm assuming that includes the Middle Bakken through the upper part of the Three Forks?
Right, that's actually from the False Bakken down through the upper Three Forks.
Okay. Thank you.
Clark, at the beginning of your testimony, you talked about the, how this area would be developed. Can you submit that as a supplemental exhibit and indicate what Morgan's interest might be in those proposed spacing units?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
How much time are you gonna need that, to do that, Clark?
Could we have till Friday?
Well, you can have more time than that if you'd like.
We can get it by Friday.
Okay.
As in
Friday.
tomorrow, Friday?
Yeah.
We'll keep the record open then for 2 days.
Okay.
Okay, nothing further. That concludes our hearing for case number 30249.
Thank you.
Case number 30250. In the matter of a hearing called on a motion of the commission to consider the termination, reduction, or any other appropriate action of the Northeast Foothills Madison Unit, Burke County, North Dakota, operated by Scout Energy Management LLC. All interested parties, please come forward.
Hello, this is the North Dakota Industrial Commission hearings room. The headset? Hi, Amanda, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Good morning, Mr. Hearing Examiner. My name is James Parrott with Beatty and Wozniak PC, representing Scout Energy this morning.
And will you be calling witnesses?
We have one witness, Amanda Behringer. She's on the line.
And are you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir, I am.
Ms. Behringer,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Proceed.
Mr. Hearing Examiner, this is the commission's motion, so if you'd like us to go ahead and present our information, we're happy to do that. Or if you'd like us to wait for the commission to ask questions, we can proceed in whichever manner you see fit.
Does the commission have any initial questions? Then you can proceed.
Okay. Ms. Behringer, would you please introduce yourself, give us your name, your title, and a brief educational, professional background?
Yes. My name is Amita Behringer. I work for Scout Energy Partners for the past 4 years. Sorry, our speaker's crazy. I've been at Scout for 4 years. I've been in the industry for over 18 years. I have my undergrad was a finance degree from Oklahoma State University, and I have a master's from Oklahoma University Law School in legal studies, energy, and natural resource law.
And do you have knowledge of the Northeast Foothills Madison unit, the subject of today's hearing?
I do.
And did you prepare some exhibits that you're going to present today?
I do.
Mr. Hearing Examiner, move to have further testimony of this witness accepted as that of an expert for the hearing today.
Motion granted.
Ms. Behringer, the first exhibit that we're going to be discussing is a certificate of termination. Mr. Examiner, this is a 2-page document. It's printed front and back, as you'll see. Ms. Behringer, can you explain this certificate of termination very briefly for us, please?
Yes, it's basically stating that the unit is no longer active and it is formally terminated in the court records of Burke County, North Dakota.
Okay. Thank you. And let's turn to the next exhibit, which is another 2-page exhibit. The first page is titled, "All of the unit wells have been P&A'd and reclaimed." Ms. Behringer, starting with that first page, would you please walk us through this 2-page exhibit?
Yes. So in the first column, it gives the P&A date, which when the wells were P&A'd, and then the second column, it would be the reclamation date when the wells were all reclaimed and returned to reclamation standards. There are 2 wells that the NDIC plugged in our records, and that would be the Northeast Foothills Unit Hall E2, the Northeast Foothills Crest 1, the GEA1, the DOE2, and the CREST-2, and the DOE3.
So those are denoted with asterisks on the exhibit, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then the second page of the exhibit shows that the unit stopped producing all oil, gas, and related hydrocarbons in December of 2014, correct?
That is correct.
We have no further questions for this witness, no further witnesses, and no further exhibits. Move to have the exhibits admitted into the record.
The exhibits will be received. Any questions from the staff?
Amanda and James, on your certificate of termination, in the second paragraph, it refers to the subdivision lodgepole unit area.
I think that is a typographical error. That should say the Northeast Foothills Madison unit.
So does this need to be re-recorded?
You know, I don't think so. I think it's, the land description is sufficient in and of itself, but if you'd like us to amend the certificate and re-record it and provide you a copy, we'd be happy to do that.
I think that would be appropriate to eliminate any confusion in the future.
Okay.
And on the wells that have been P&A'd exhibit and their reclaim dates, are all these wells still on Scout's bond?
Yes,
And do you know if they are ready for release or not?
they are ready for release.
James, I assume we would like to make, obviously our field inspection, take a notice of our field inspection notes and come to a determination whether they are ready for release or not. That really wouldn't affect the dissolution of the unit. It would just affect when they come off the bond, and that bond would have to stay in place until they're released.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Do you have a timeline that you're thinking of for the inspection and determination of readiness for bond release?
I don't. Some of these may have been inspected already.
Okay.
But we would try to get obviously out there this growing season yet to see what the status is if we haven't, and we'll just make a note of that in the findings of the order.
Okay. I'm sure Scout is ready and willing to work with you to assist in any way they can to get those inspections completed if they haven't already been done.
Okay. Thank you.
How long do you think you'll need to get the document re-recorded?
Yeah, we have 3 weeks just to allow for kind of the timing of mailing documents back and forth.
That's fine. Let me check what 3 weeks is here. August 17th? We'll leave the record open until August 17th to get this document re-recorded.
Thank you.
Okay. And if there's nothing further, that concludes our hearing for case number 30250.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Case number 29868, application of Spotted Hawk Development LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Van Hook, Bach, and Poole, McLean, and Dunn Counties, North Dakota, so as to create and establish an overlapping 3520 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and the north half of section 21, Township 150 North, Range 91 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 8 horizontal wells on said proposed overlapping 3520 acre spacing unit. This matter has been continued to the August hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 29868. The next two cases will be consolidated into one hearing. I'll call first case number 30148, a motion of the commission to consider establishing the field and pool limits for lands located in sections 35 and 36, Township 142 North, Range 84 West, sections 19, 20, 21, 22, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35, Township 142 North, Range 83 West, sections 1, 2, 12, and 13, Township 141 North, Range 84 West, and sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, Township 141 North, Range 83 West, Oliver County, North Dakota, for the geologic storage of carbon dioxide in the Mincona Center MRYS Broom Creek Storage Facility, number 1 in the Broom Creek Formation. I will also call case number 30149, a motion of the commission to consider establishing the field and pool limits for lands located in sections 35 and 36, Township 142 North, Range 83 West, sections 19, 20, 21, 22, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 35, Township 142 North, Range 83 West, sections 1, 2, 12, and 13, Township 141 North, Range 84 West, and sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, Township 141 North, Range 83 West, Oliver County, North Dakota, for the geologic storage of carbon dioxide in the Mincona Center MRYS Deadwood Storage Facility, number 1 in the Deadwood Formation. All interested parties, please come forward.
So both matters listed just now were heard at last month's docket, and these matters were continued to this month's docket to allow for proper publication, and Oliver County Commission entered a exhibit in the file, and I believe we can consider it closed.
I will note that no other parties have appeared. So that concludes our hearings for case number 30148, 30149. Case number 30152, temporary spacing to develop an oil and/or gas pool discovered by the White Rock Oil and Gas LLC, number 21X-21F Grassy Butte Well, Northeast Northwest Quarter, Section 21, Township 146 North, Range 99 West, Mackenzie County, North Dakota. This case has been continued to the August hearings. Concludes our hearing for case number 30152. Case number 30263, application of Cobra Oil and Gas Corp. For an order removing 31 Operating LLC as operator of certain underground gathering pipeline systems and a saltwater disposal well, so that Cobra Oil and Gas Corp. is the operator of both the pipeline located in the northeast quarter, southeast quarter, and southeast quarter, southwest quarter of Section 30, Township 162 North, Range 81 West, Bottineau County, North Dakota, and with the Evenson number 2 saltwater disposal well located in the northeast quarter, northwest quarter of Section 31, Township 162 North, Range 81 West, Bottineau County, North Dakota. This case has been continued to the August hearings. And that concludes our hearing for case number 30263. Case number 30155, application of Continental Resources for an order amending the field rules for the Last Chance Bakken Pool, Williams County, North Dakota, as follows. 1, create and establish an overlapping 1,600-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 28 and 33, Township 154 North, Range 100 West, and the north half of Section 4, Township 153 North, Range 100 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on said overlapping 1,600-acre spacing unit with the lateral located approximately 424 feet from the east line of said proposed 1,600-acre spacing unit. And 2, authorizing the drilling, completing, and producing of a well with the lateral to be located approximately 392 feet from the west line of an existing 1,280-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 27 and 34, Township 154 North, Range 100 West. This case has been continued to the August hearings, and that concludes our hearing for case number 30155. Case number 30011, application of Cobra Oil and Gas Corporation for an order of the commission terminating the Bauman Drain Madison Unit, Button County, North Dakota. All interested parties, please come forward.
Lawrence Bender, Appeal Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this matter on behalf of Cobra Oil and Gas Corporation. We'll be calling one witness by telephone, Mr. Seth Hatley, who should be calling in here shortly, and I have handed out some exhibits for the commission to consider in this matter. I'm sorry, for the turn it on. Seth,
Yes, sir.
how are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Right. Mr. Hathaway,
Hatley.
I'm sorry,
No, you're fine.
Mr. Hatley,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Seth, state your full name, please, and spell your last name.
Seth Hatley, Hatley.
And by whom are you employed?
Cobra Oil and Gas Corporation,
In what capacity?
senior landman.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
They have.
Or for the further testimony, this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Seth, let's turn to the packet of exhibits for this case. Let's start with Exhibit 1. Can you just identify Exhibit 1 and then very briefly discuss what's contained upon it?
Sure. Exhibit 1 is our area reference map outlining the Bomb and Drain Madison unit along with several fields and units within the north.
Missed the last part of what you said. Within what?
The northwest quarter of Bottineau County.
Okay. And then Exhibit 2?
Exhibit 2 is a more defined map zoomed in on the Bomb and Drain Madison unit, outlining the wellbores and locations of the previous producers within the unit.
And Exhibit 3?
Exhibit 3 is just a unit outline map, more defined. It's more of the same, just a zoomed-in version of Exhibit 2, outlining the unit outline there, the Bomb and Drain Madison unit.
Okay, then let's go to Exhibit 4, and we have that labeled as unit history. Can you briefly discuss some of the more pertinent aspects of this particular exhibit?
Sure. The unit history here, this is a Bomb and Drain Madison unit established March 31st, 1994, became effective April 1st, 1994. The unit is described as Township 163 North, Range 82 West, southeast quarter of Section 23, the northwest quarter of Section 24. The original operator of the Bomb and Drain Madison unit was Ward Williston Company, succeeded by Enduro Operating LLC, July of 2012, and Cobra took over July 31st of 2018. At the time Cobra took over, there was two producers, being the Watland 1 and the Watland A1. Both have been plugged and reclaimed. Production history, there's been 41,000. Go ahead.
No, you finish. I apologize. I can wait with my question.
Sure. Production history, there's been 41,138 barrels of oil produced, 104,022 barrels of water, and 0 MCF of gas. The date of last production is July of 2020. The date of last production sales is February 23rd, 2020.
Okay, just a couple questions. You've indicated that Cobra has operated the wells since, I think you said 2018, yet on this exhibit, you show the date of restoration as unknown. Can you explain to the commission why that date is unknown to Cobra?
Yes, so the NDIC took title to this unit, would have been July 31st of 2020. We do know that they have been restored. We just don't have that information in the well file. We have been out to the site, and we can confirm they have been plugged, abandoned, and restored.
And when you say took title, do you mean that the commission confiscated the wells sometime during that time period that you mentioned?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. And then can you explain for us as well, you have date of last production as July of 2020, but then you have date of the sale of the last production as February 23 of 2020. Can you explain that for us, please?
Sure. From the best of my knowledge here is we made our last oil sale February 23rd. The unit intermittently produced in that time period, and we believe at the time of the NDIC took over, there was roughly 6 barrels of oil in the tank, and no sales were made during that time. So that explains the time overlap there.
Or if there were sales, it was not sales that were conducted by Cobra, it would have been conducted by the commission. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then finally, Exhibit 5, can you indicate what your recommendation is to the commission in terms of termination?
Yes, we're requesting the commission make effective the termination date of July 31st, 2020, the time the commission confiscated the bomb and drain Madison unit.
Okay. Mr. Examiner, that's all the questions I have. We'd offer the exhibits. I would point out that we have not at this point in time filed a certificate with the Recorder's Office indicating the date of termination. We didn't do that because in the event that we file something like that and then the commission picks a different date for termination, then we'd have to file another one. So if the commission wants to include language in the order requesting us to file that certificate after a decision is made in this matter, we're happy to do that. Or if the commission has some other way they'd like to handle it. But I wanted the commission to know why we did not file the certificate at this time.
Okay. That will be taken under consideration,
Okay.
and the exhibits will be received. Any questions from the staff?
Seth, just a note on your Exhibit 3, when you were discussing the map here, you indicated it was the unit map, but it's really a field map, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
And the unit would include 3 40-acre tracts, roughly in the center of it, with one being located right below, or right in where it says Bauman Drain on that map, and then the 40 south of it and the 40 east of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Lawrence, I think we would want you to file that certificate of termination and then file it with the commission. The unit agreement indicates that needs to be done to terminate the unit.
Yeah, we're happy to do that. I assume you have no objection to us using the July date as the termination date then? That's what we recommended.
No, I don't have any issue with that.
I'm sorry?
I have no issue with that.
Okay, great. Yeah, I hope you can understand. We weren't trying to delay it. We just didn't want to file something and then have to file it again.
Yeah, so we'll leave the record open. I assume that can be done relatively soon, and
Yeah, I can prepare it relatively quickly, get it recorded. Let's just say 2 weeks, or wait, why don't you say 3 weeks, because I think you know what that date is.
I already know the date, yes, correct.
So that's fine.
So we'll leave the record open until August 17th.
August 17th, yeah. Yeah, I don't think we'll be asking for an expedited order or anything on this. Well, that's all we have, Mr. Examiner. Thank you.
Okay, with that concludes our hearing for case number 30011, and that concludes our hearings for the day. Thank you.